Honourable Minister, Minister Mthethwa, Minister of Police, Honourable Mr. Taylor Douglas, Consul General of the United States of America, distinguished guests, friends of the Graduate School of Business, all other protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome one and all of you to this, the third big debate hosted by the Graduate School of Business. It now gives me very great pleasure to introduce to you our speaker this evening, our guest speaker, the Honourable Mr. Nkosinathi Mthethwa, who was appointed as the Minister of Safety and Security in September of 2008.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you very much. We're indeed honored and privileged to have been invited by this prestigious institution of higher learning to take part in this event of great significance. An event that seeks to add impetus in our efforts to build a thriving economy. This assembly of academics, business fraternity, and ourselves is underpinned by the common understanding that successful societies are built on the foundation of common purpose. Over the past 17 years, after centuries of colonialism and apartheid, a new era has dawned for South Africa. The journey that we have thus far traveled give us confidence that we shall reach our goal of society that is free from crime, a society that cares. The overall program of transformation will gradually eliminate some of the conditions that breed crime. So shall our contribution to creating an environment of peace, stability, economic growth, and social development in SADC region, the continent and the rest of the world. At the core of government program is the obligation to improve the quality of life of all citizens, for them to exercise their freedoms and use their talents to help our society flourish. The progress we have made, the victories we continue to score are reflective of the vision of South African citizens' commitment and determination to the cause of peace and social progress. We are turning the tide against crime. We are not there yet, but with the participation of all sectors of our society, we will reach our goal, which is people of our country are and feel safe. This assembly is called upon never to forget that practice is greener than all theories, and that the true test of patriotic practice is to be found in the ability to narrow to the minimum the gap between theory and reality. And I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to kick off by thanking Professor Singh and the Graduate School of Business for inviting us to share thoughts on such a critical topic that does not only impact on business growth and development, but I'm sure it occupies the minds of all responsible South Africans. I'll state this up front, I'm no expert on this subject and have not conducted any studies on it, so I will simply give you a business layman's view. There is a perception held by many business people that crime is high in South Africa. Personally, I do not believe that we are the worst compared to our counterparts around the world. The biggest challenge is that our crime is accompanied by unprecedented violence. In many first world cities that we visit all the time, we meet colleagues who do complain about crime and violent crime. And violent crime is not commonplace around the world. people simple questions. Are we going forward in our country or backward? The answer is a resounding yes in terms of this country going forward. Since 1994, I think we've done very, very, very well. We shouldn't cloud our minds with challenges that are facing us, including crime. We were born in the township. We've seen serious crime in the 60s and 70s. Crime is actually, it's true that it is going down. So I really want to submit to you, Minister, that as a business community, we are very impressed with the recent decisions that have been taken by the President of this country to stamp out corruption. It is quite commendable. In fact, in a space of 30 days, we have seen decisions that have redefined the TEF, the image of the country. I was overseas 2 weeks ago. The world out there is beginning to look at South Africa as a totally different country, a country that is serious about getting the business done. We are very happy about that.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of the Businesswomen's Association, I would like to thank Anesh and his team for inviting us to participate on this very important panel. The Businesswomen's Association is the largest and most prominent association of business and professional women in South Africa and the voice of women in business. When I was asked to participate on this panel and hearing the topic, crime and its impact on business, my first thought as a woman and a business person was, which is very similar to Mr. Tembe's, was we have the highest crime levels in South Africa, or do we have the highest crime levels in this country? What would it take to drastically reduce it? Will we ever feel safe in our streets at night? How do we create sustainable economic growth and effectively deal with fraud and corruption in business? And can we create a better life for all? The Businesswomen's Association is passionate about driving socio-economic growth in the region through our various programs. We strongly believe it is imperative for business, government, and society to work together. Let's stop pointing fingers. We need to create a safe environment for our future generations. And lastly, this was a quote I read of Kennedy's, which really intrigued me. And it said, "Every society gets the kind of criminal it deserves. What is also true is that every community gets the law enforcement it insists on." If we allow violent crime against whether it's women, children, or men to continue, then we as a society have failed. And if we really don't insist on the law enforcement needed to correct it and proper engagement, then we have failed. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I just express at the outset that I feel very privileged to have been invited to be a panelist at this occasion this evening, and I thank Professor Singh very much for the invitation. I'd also like to applaud the GSB for its initiative in holding events such as this. I think they are really very important in bringing members of the community, the business community perhaps, and the university together. And I think it's fair to applaud Professor Singh himself for having reached out into the business community in the way that he has done to ensure that the Graduate School of Business is not a kind of ivory tower which is separated from the rest of the business community. Over 70% of the members of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry are small businesses. And I'm going to talk specifically about the impacts of crime on small business this evening. Not because the Chamber believes that it's less important in the case of larger companies, because of course, as has already been mentioned, if businesses are victims of crime, big businesses in particular, then in fact that constitutes a very serious inhibition to investment. We focus on small business because we believe they are in fact more vulnerable, and because, as I've mentioned, the majority of our members are small businesses. I absolutely endorse what has been said by all the people who've spoken to me before. This is not a challenge for the SAPS to meet, it's a challenge for all of us to meet. And the way we need to meet it from a chamber point of view, for example, is not simply to tell small business owners how they can best secure their businesses, how they can increase their security, what steps they should take to make themselves more vulnerable, less vulnerable. Of course we can do that. But I think what we have to do is to be much more educative in the broader sense of things, because what we have to realize is that this is not just unemployed people who commit crime. A lot of them are employees. And I sometimes have the feeling that the corporate world pays too little attention to the societal issues that are very important in our country. People are at work for 8 hours a day. That provides a wonderful opportunity for the workplace to be a community builder, if you like. And I think it's extremely important that business doesn't lose that particular opportunity to engage with employees, not in a confrontational sense over salaries all the time, but as partners in trying to achieve a better society and a better country. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the panel for opening this debate.